On the air?
It's probably been for the better part of a year or so.
Oh, okay. Sweet. See you later, lady.
Shelby County they were from.
Oh, wow. I actually know Shelby County.
I don't too much. Alright, but anyhow, we are recording. Might as well just get her started underway now. We're going about things a bit differently. Nude Commando Cody Ruby here, conducting this as a live interview from Omaha, Nebraska, in the heart of the old market. I have with me the one and only Mr. Chad Bishoff. Chad, it's been a while. It's been a grip.
It has been a minute, man. How you been?
I have been, at the very least. I know that. I think, therefore, I am. But I've been busy, and as I know you have too.
Yeah.
Things don't tend to slow down in our line of work. Could you tell us about what is currently on your plate? I do know that you were in Peru again recently.
Yeah. The documentary that we did got so much publicity in Peru that their biggest beer vendor, Cristal, wanted to come back and do a beer commercial in Peru, Nebraska, as sort of a soccer, slash beer co-op campaign, where they featured some of the biggest faces from the Peru documentary drinking their beer and riding around town in a cop car, banging on the hood and waving flags and
everything a beer commercial should be.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pretty wild time. It was really fun to be back and work with the Peruvian friends again and tell the story. So,
what were some of those familiar faces that we will see again in this commercial from the Peru documentary?
Bill Clemente from Peru State College is featured in it, as well as I think their favorite character, Bibbs, as he calls himself. Actually, he's always wearing overalls. Great guy from Peru, and just a riot. And then the sheriff that was featured in the documentary was the one that was driving everybody around in the cop cars.
I see. Yeah, I'm wanting to say Bibbs may have called in on Party Line once or twice, because that does sound oddly familiar.
You can't. If you know Bibbs, you can't forget Bibbs. That's just it. He's a phenomenal individual, just a riot. So.
All right, and from the Peru project, when it started to doing the commercial most recently, what did you enjoy the most about, for one, being in the area, and for two, what was your favorite part of the project?
Getting to see everybody again, both the people from Peru, South America, and the people from Peru, Nebraska. The one thing about my industry is we move around a lot. Everything, I did the TV pilot in New Zealand last year, and then I was in Peru, shooting, and you're traveling around. I was in Lincoln for a month shooting that movie, Vino Veritas, and so I'm always on the move. So you get really close with people, and then it's like, all right, that was fun, see ya, and you're out. And so you don't see those guys again. And so to be able to go back and see everybody and hang out and go back to that world, it's kind of like going back into a sequel, or something, where you're going back and reliving these characters, and so that was a lot of fun. That was probably that's the best part about it.
I see, and it does strike a chord. I'm sure anybody can relate to the fact that you can share an experience with one person and then never see them again for the rest of your life, but you still remember, and it still plays an impact.
Because the people we meet, they last a lifetime. It's so funny. I always think something so insignificant to one person, the exact opposite person could have had this life-altering experience. We take the things that we learn from the people we meet, we apply that into our life, and I think that's what you can't ever throw away. Even the people that you bump into on an airplane. Or when you're sitting at a bar and the guy next to you starts talking to you, and at first you're like, I want to be left alone. Then all of a sudden you open up your mind and you start talking, and then you find out so many wonderful things about people or about yourself. If that makes sense, I don't know.
No, exactly. It actually made me think of the first time I ever got on an airplane when my family went to Chicago. I ended up taking a picture of one of the gentlemen who was like a stewardess and everything. I guess you shouldn't call him a stewardess. But it was just one of the small things that I've always remembered, that maybe that's why I'm so friendly, perhaps. But anyhow, you did mention your film that you did in Lincoln, which was Vino Veritas. Mm-hmm. Exactly, what is the process on that? I know the filming and everything is probably wrapped up. Has it had its release date? Is it?
No, not yet. We are almost done with post. We are just finalizing our special thanks list and the credits of the movie, and going back and making sure that we didn't forget anybody or leave anybody out. So the whole thing is done. It's cut together. We're finalizing the end credits, and from there we'll start submitting to various film festivals all across the country and the globe, and get in front of as many people as we can and let the reviews come in, and then from there we figure out what the best approach is, and hopefully land a distributor, and then more people can see the film and go, oh, okay, now I know what you're talking about. Vino Veritas.
Yeah. It was filmed in Lincoln in the last interview. You mentioned that, and you also mentioned that it is on the Internet Movie Database website.
It is.
Our interview that we did on that movie, that subject, that is on YouTube, I know. Does the movie have a website of its own?
Yeah, I believe it's vinoveritasmovie.com. And if you type in Vino Veritas, for a while we were the number 3. Actually, I think our interview was like number 3. There was 2 posts about wine, and then the third one was, our interview.
That's awesome.
And it shot up. If you Googled Vino Veritas, we shot up to number 3. Now I think there's some more press and the website's up. I think it's vinoveritasmovie.com. Don't quote me on that, but if you Google Vino Veritas movie, it'll come up quickly.
Yeah, don't quote him, just do it.
Just do it. And so you can learn more stuff on there and follow along and read more about the cast and the crew and that.
Very cool. And you're going to get started on a new project next week, if I'm not mistaken. You said the 29th is your first day of busyness on this project. Do you have any sneak peeks or previews for us that we could let the KNCY listening audience in on?
Honestly, that one I wouldn't talk about much.
All right.
It's the reason for that one. Honestly, it's a really cool project. It's a period piece that takes place in the 70s, and it's kind of a coming of age script about a kid who works in a movie theater. The working title right now is The Curtain Closes. But the reason they're using this, we're shooting a 20-minute version to then take to our investors and try to get the full funding. So it's kind of more of one of those promo pieces that we're doing right now, more so than anything. So
it still speaks to me. I used to work at a theater. That was like my first job I had when I moved up to this area, actually.
Oh, really?
I worked at Star Cinema. The last thing I ever did there was my very last day. We helped put up the big IMAX screen.
No kidding.
I kid you not.
No kidding. What was your main job? What'd you do?
I guess technically I was labeled an usher.
Okay.
I would pretend to take tickets. I would patrol the theaters, clean up, stuff like that.
I've always wondered, why spend the money on the person who collects the ticket? You go to a window, you buy your ticket to walk, so many feet to then hand somebody else the ticket, and then they rip it, and then you go in. It seems like they're doing the same thing twice.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Really, they are kind of. When it comes to rated R movies, you want to make sure that the people are going into their respected and designated theater.
Do you?
Me personally, no, but I know they wanted me to.
You got to be careful with that stuff.
There'll definitely be updates on your project with this on your website, I'm certain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. ChadBishoff.com or Facebook,
of course,
Twitter, and you can follow me on @Bischoff on Twitter. And it's funny, I've been on Twitter since it launched, and it's funny. I feel like just today, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been on Twitter, I've been posting tweets and updates and all this kind of stuff, and all of a sudden I feel like I feel like just this morning I was laying in bed and I was doing my usual morning routine of checking emails, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And I found some just amazing articles, and I ran across a few authors and a few people from all over the globe that had some really cool things to say. And so I actually retweeted with a quote and said, hey, congratulations on this or that, on your book or on whatever. And it was funny because instantly then they started hitting me back, saying, hey, check out @Bischoff and thanks for the comments. And so it was like, oh, now I get how Twitter is a conversation.
Yeah, it's a bit different. I'm not too experienced with Twitter.
It's a weird world. It's because everything's 140 characters, and you got to know what the hashtags mean. And, and then you got to, when do you use like the person, and then all this. So it's a weird world, but it's like once you get it, it's so much easier to read than Facebook.
Yeah, it was a weird world before Twitter came along, man. But aside from the film industry, much like I'd like to consider myself, you are an all-around artist. You have this visualization that you want to bring to life. One of those is, your past experiences, survival, so to speak. Surviving Puberty is the book you've been working on, at least since I met you, I know. Mm-hmm. And it's you make no bones about it. You put it all out there. Tell us a little bit about your survival story here.
It is all out there.
Yeah.
When people say, what is surviving puberty? And I always say, my life. No, it was weird. I actually started in 2007. That's share the darkest secrets of my life for all to read. No, we started the process in 2007. So I have been working on surviving puberty since 2007, and it's one of those things that when I first set out to do it, it was more of an experience for me. It was kind of an accident that I stumbled upon this book because I had found the journals in my closet, and then at my parents' house, when I went to go back and clean it out,
this wasn't around Christmas, was it?
This was not around Christmas. No, I had to go back. They said I had been promising them for like 7 years that I was going to come and clean out the closet and get it ready to go. Little did they know, right? Yeah, and then
you were cleaning out the closet.
So I find this box, journals, do not read, which was stupid to write on the box.
It just says please read.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I end up going and told my friends about it that were around, that I grew up with, around 11, 12, 13 years of age, and they said, well, why don't you bring them down? Let's read these things. And so I took them down to Phoenix, and we were reading them and laughing hysterically. And Bobby, who plays Mercedes in the book, she said, you need to turn this into a book. And I laughed at her. I said, okay, whatever. And I started transcribing the journals just so I could keep them intact and read them without what does that mean? And then 5 years later, it's coming out as an ebook edition and in print, and wow.
That's cool, though. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Now, it must have been, at least to me, when I find like an old notebook of mine that has God knows what in it, that's the feeling that comes over you is like definitely one of those one-of-a-kind feelings. But now that this book is going to be out there for everybody, well, how does that feel, really? I mean, there's
days when you feel like so proud of yourself for having committed to sharing, a real, honest truth about life. And then there's other days when I realize, oh, shoot, that's in the book. And you get kind of nervous, like, how are people going to take that? I mean, the thing is, I don't consider myself to be unique in the way that, hey, you should read this book because my experiences were so crazy, man, that, it'll be like, wow. No, it's completely like middle of the road average. And I think that's the reason why everyone that was pushing me to do the book, I think that's why. It was because it wasn't like this crazy story. It was truth. It takes you from the innocence, this nervous boy wanting to have a girlfriend, coping with these feelings of desire and women, and then takes you into him getting the confidence to actually ask and get rejected, all the way up until getting, my first girlfriend and actually dating and then getting in trouble and kind of growing up and becoming a young teenager. So I think that it tells kind of a story. It's not fragmented. I mean, I wrote almost every week for 2.5 years. So there was over 9 notebooks, over 70,000 words, all in what I was thinking about.
That's amazing, but I guess the title is exactly what it is. It's the tale of one boy's survival. You said like average, it's like an average story almost, but like it seems like the average almost these days is everybody trying to dramatize their story to make it sound like all this crazy stuff happened. And
well, that was going on back when I was a kid. I mean, the difference is I wrote it into a journal, and I really would encourage kids. I want kids to write it down. It's amazing how much we forget. We think we can relay it. We're like, I remember what it was like to go through puberty. Yeah. And having written so much down, I thought I knew it all. And then as I was writing the book, I went, oh my gosh, I totally forgot this. And so you realize you don't remember what it was like. And until you go down that path and really put yourself back in it, you forget the struggles, the conflictions, the feelings of awkward nervousness. I mean, everybody, it's a whole world.
The feelings that you were feeling when you felt them.
Yes. Let me think and feel my feelings. No.
You also said that when we were, well, I guess we're off the air now, but before we were off the record, you said that that was also kind of hints at your intent for the book. You wanted parents to get an idea of what is going on in their kid's head when, well, as we said, it's like all they kind of had to do is, maybe just remember a little bit.
But we don't.
Exactly.
I put it like this. I was sitting with a really good friend of mine. She has a 13-year-old son, 13 or 14. And I know that she's kind of in the middle of a potential divorce, and he's in the middle of going through a lot of stuff at home. And I remember I looked at him, and they were both sitting there. I looked at him, I said, you're going through a lot of pain right now. And he says, yeah. I mean, he didn't want to share, of course, but yeah, I'm going through a lot of pain. And I said, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in your life, isn't there? And he says, yeah. And then I turned to, his mom, and I said, you got a lot of pain in your life right now. And she says, well, yeah, we've been talking about it. And I said, let me guess. I said, you're looking at your son and you're thinking, wow, you don't know what pain really is. And she goes, well, yeah, I kind of do that. He's young. I said, you're going through your pain for the first time. He's going through his pain for the first time. Who's to say that either one of your pain is more or less hurtful?
Yeah, and it's like, are you thinking to yourself that he doesn't know pain because he's too young, or have you forgotten because you're too old?
Yes, exactly. And that's what I really want. I want, if parents can read this book and actually use it to start a dialogue with their kids, awesome.
Yeah, communication is everything, boss. I like that out. Edit that out. But
the other thing is too, I realized that nobody wanted to sit down and read 200 pages of adolescent. Or wait, I guess I should say, a lot of people don't want to sit down and read 200 pages of adolescence, and poor grammar and all this stuff. So there's about every 10 pages there's a modern story, and what I do is parallel, the sort of world where the reader is going down, kind of laughing at the ridiculousness of the pubescent boy, and then, kind of relating to the modern pain. And I tackle a lot of adult issues as well, from career to dating to life, and I'll spare the gritty details so they can read it later.
Yeah, we'll encourage them to buy it.
But yeah, and then the whole question of the book, I mean, really the book is, when does puberty end? The book ends up being having nothing to do with puberty.
Yeah, I was actually going to twist your words earlier. It's like, you heard it here. Chad Bishoff's been surviving puberty since 2007. But it's really, that's kind of what it is. I mean, puberty is the point when, I don't know, you start noticing the drama almost. Mm-hmm. And really, it never ends. You could learn the experience 10 times over throughout your lifetime, and it could be the same experience, just like in a different field, like you said, with career.
Yeah, we are forever being put in situations that are new for us to experience. And really, that's just it. Life is a complete exercise. Life is a complete evolving, path of knowledge, and just people. I think there's a lot of people who take it for granted. You wake up day in, day out, do your thing, and you don't really realize that every step of the way you are learning new things. Yeah,
it's much like any time you read a book that you hadn't read for years, or like you said, when it came to writing your book, you think about experiences that you'd forgotten. It's like there's always something that you missed. It's like Pulp Fiction, the movie. We talked about it earlier. That you could watch it a million times and catch something new every time.
Yeah, every time. Well, I mean, like I was saying to you off the air, as we were saying, I completely forgot my first girlfriend.
Yeah, I knew that.
Because
I've been trying, and I need some tips.
I don't know how. I just, I was starving for a relationship, and all my friends were going out with someone, and holding hands, all this kind of stuff, and I was that awkward boy, like wishing that I could, talk to girls, and I couldn't. And finally, I get a girlfriend, and I have no recollection of it. I mean, I was writing the book, I was transcribing the journals, and realized Oh my gosh, my first girlfriend I dated for 45 days? No clue. I think I remember hanging out with her once, and that was about it.
Well, hopefully she doesn't pick up the book and think, I never dated him.
Hey, I changed names.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, take that. We get the last laugh. All right, now, before we move on from the surviving puberty topic, is there anything else you'd like to mention on this topic?
Can you pause the recorder and let me think? No, not really. What else do I want to say about the book?
Can you pause and re-record live for me?
Yeah, there we go. If life had a pause button. If life had a pause button, I'd use it a lot.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned that this book might not be quite geared towards children as a demographic, but you do want them to be able to learn from it. And it was around then that I shared my experiences, having seen things that maybe a lot of kids shouldn't see. But much like life, puberty isn't always easy on a person.
Kids are smart.
They are.
And kids, I think, are a lot smarter than we want to give them credit for. And I think that's this whole thing with the rating system for movies, the parental advisory warnings on CDs, or I guess CDs don't even really exist anymore. It's all downloadable content. I mean, it's these warnings are there, and parents, I think, more often say, "Oh, this has more than one F word in it, and it's rated R, and so you can't see it." And there's no guidance anymore into kids watching this content that is very real. Yet they'll throw on the news, which has far more violence and far more drama than half of the stuff that you would see in a movie. So I think we are sheltering our kids the wrong way. Now, should I say, parents, don't let your kids read Surviving Puberty.
Or grow up to be cowboys.
Or grow up to be cowboys. Read the book, use it as a tool to go talk to them. But at the same point, I don't know if I would hand my hypothetical 11-year-old son or daughter the book. I definitely would probably hand my high school hypothetical child the book. Yeah. Because they're smart enough. And if you look at them and say, look, you're going to read some crazy stuff in here. There's going to be a lot of language. It doesn't mean that you can say it. It doesn't mean that you can do it. But I know you've thought this. And I know you've felt things. So read it and we can talk about it.
Yeah. It's means of communication. As we said earlier, it is quite important. But, like what you said about movie ratings, it kind of made me think in my mind, it's like perhaps age itself is a warning, a restriction, a label on a person that we fail to look at this person as an individual who may or may not be surviving puberty. And, the book, it could be misused in the wrong hands, but who's to say how old are those hands? It could be more dangerous in a 31-year-old's hands than, say, an 11-year-old's. But
absolutely. Because it depends on how you interpret it. I know for a fact there's probably going to be a friend of mine who teaches in the school system, and he travels the country, and he wrote a kind of a cover letter for the book, urging parents to read it. But one thing that he says is there's going to be moments when you're like laughing. There's going to be moments when you're like, there is no way. Is this for real? And it's true. And he says some people are going to want to bury their head in the sand. They're going to want to bury their head and say, nope. Little Johnny is not like that. My son is better than that. But that's not true. They are going through it. I let a beta test group read some sample chapters. Or I'm actually all the journal entries, actually.
Wow.
And all men, women, all ages, and every woman under maybe 35 was like, this guy's hilarious. Like, really? Boys are like that? Yeah. Every woman over 35 is like, you are sick. You are a sick individual. This is wrong. You are... This doesn't... No. No. Oh, no, you... And then
we are leaving right now.
Yeah, every man of all ages handed it back and went, that seems about right to me, man. It didn't matter if they were 55, 60, or if they were 18 years old when they said, this is exactly how it is. And it's a different version. It's got a time stamp of, the early 90s. So there's a lot of pop culture references to 90, 91, 92, 93, 94 area. So it's timestamped with that. There was the peak of gangster rap and it was sort of
grunge rock.
So there was a lot of like strong language over here, and then all of a sudden you're listening to Kurt Cobain going, oh my gosh, my life, and you're feeling all emo, and so I don't know. So it's got this timestamp on it, but other than the pop culture references, everybody says this is how it was.
Yeah, and as we said, it's one person's account of surviving puberty. And that being said, would you label this as how would you yourself categorize it? Would it be semi-autobiographical, an account of an experience, or like a puberty handbook almost?
I'm scared. I don't want to call it a handbook, because that makes me think that if you turn to page 10, here we will learn. No, because everybody experiences things different. Some people get their heart broken when they're 16. Some people get their heart broken when they're 35. Everybody's place in time can be different. So it's not a handbook. It is truly an autobiographical account, of one man's experience through life, not just puberty.
One boy's experience through manhood.
There you go. I like that.
Tag it.
It's yours, buddy. So it is an autobiographical account, but it's like anything in life. If I have a conversation with you and you say, Chad, here's what I went through, and then I walk away from that and go, well, I want to use this, and I want to change the way I think about this particular thing. Then it's affected me. So all I'm doing is telling a story. You can laugh at it. You can think I'm ridiculous. You can go, oh my gosh, this is so accurate. You can love the pop culture references. You can hate the feeling that you had when oh my gosh, I remember that, and that hurt my feelings when I was that age. And that's why I don't like school kids. So you can take with it whatever you want. But at the end of the day, I want people to, ultimately I'd love for people to be able to touch people's lives and have them know, like, look, like, life is scary, you know what I mean? And it's okay to admit when you don't know something. It's okay to admit that you're sad, and it's okay to communicate your feelings. And
as we found out during your favorite chapter of the book, it doesn't necessarily get any less scary just because puberty is over with. It's especially the holidays. They can be. Well,
they say. I forget the exact statistic, but don't they say like 60-70% of people get depressed during Christmas, during the holidays?
Yeah.
And I was reading up on it as I was trying to avoid my family, and I was curled up in a ball in bed. I was reading about why I was feeling this way, and I was reading about how, like, it's because of, if you're a parent, it's the extra pressure of providing, the extra money to give gifts to your kids. The holidays can remind you of loss of a loved one. The holidays are a time when you have more freedom to maybe sit down and reflect. And so there's very strong reasons why people get more depressed during the holidays, why the suicide rate goes up during the holiday. And I think if we know why that happens, then maybe we can help fix the issue.
Find the source, right?
Rather than the other 40% going like, I don't understand why you're depressed. Get over it. And then they walk away and you're like, well, thank you, whatever.
Yeah, but it tends to be those people that, act so out of character and dramatic in their own right because they're not quite over those issues that they're depressed about. They're so worried about how they're perceived.
Sweep it under the rug. They instead of grabbing a dustpan, they lift up the carpet and sweep it under there and go, we'll leave it for someone else.
There you go. You can make Chad Bishoff happy this Christmas by providing his book as a Christmas present.
There you go.
And we found out the category it'll be under the honesty section.
There you go. Yes.
Again, there's survivingpuberty.com, there's chadbishoff.com, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook. We have, you can hit me up on, do you care? It's like Nude Commando.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
That's what we're calling you now, right?
The Nude Commando.
As the Nude Commando has stated. You can go to chadbishoff.com, at Bischoff on Twitter. But if you want to really follow along, we've been posting a lot of content on Facebook. Facebook.com/survivingpuberty. We've been updating quotes from the book. We've been updating, music videos. shows and references from the early 90s. So if you want to follow along there, the book doesn't come out until late fall this year, but if you want to follow along there, you can get a slice of this world right now.
Yeah, we know you're intrigued. Now, just a side note for how much the early 90s meant to me, my favorite movie of all time might very well be Encino Man. I have it on tape in my car, like the soundtrack.
Nice. Nice. I think the movie that was most watched for me was Terminator 2.
That was pretty popular in its day, yeah.
And I had
it on Sega Genesis, the video game.
Yes, yeah, the arcade one, right?
Yeah, I could not do it.
It was so hard.
He could do it, but I could.
It was so hard. Oh my gosh, like all those games. We had Game Boys, and I never got the portable Sega Genesis.
What did they call them?
God, what did they call that?
Those things, yeah.
The first ever color portable game console. Now they're all sick.
Yeah.
They're all awesome, you know what I mean?
And they got so many more buttons, and kids can do them so much better.
Now, I mean, have you seen the new PlayStation portable, the new one that just
I've seen a commercial for it.
Double joysticks finally, which I don't know why it took them so long to go, hey, wait, we should add an extra joystick on because it was so obvious. Every game has two. But anyway, it's sick. It's like, everything is so cool. I almost wanted to get one, and then I realized, maybe I should hold off.
Yeah. But anyhow, have spent 35 minutes here in your car in Omaha thus far. Now, are there any other subjects that you'd like to touch on? I know that Chad Bishoff doesn't stop after puberty. He's going to continue on with some further projects. Mm-hmm. What could we expect from Mr. Bishoff in the future?
Currently, I think I was telling you, like right now I'm writing a couple of different books. One of them, It's Always About a Girl, is one that I'm focusing pretty heavily. It is fiction. Maybe should be classified real life, but we're calling it fiction, if you know what I mean.
As we said earlier, reality can be stranger than fiction.
Exactly.
Harder to believe.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And so it's a first-person narrative that kind of takes you through this young kid's dating life from just out of high school. I think it starts with him in prom, right after prom, and takes you through the next 45 girls that he dates over roughly 12, 13 years. And it's just about this evolution of this character and how the further he gets into dating, the more black he becomes, the more clouded his judgment is.
So what you're saying is women are evil.
No, I'm saying men are stupid. No, I'm just kidding.
I see. You'll side with them on this one. It's a good thing I'm not a man yet.
No, it's just we become so numb. We become so clouded with our own thoughts and our own pains and our own situations that I think we start to feel.
Yeah.
We stop caring as much, and so this character, he's a great guy, but he just ends up lost. It's like a downward spiral in drugs, but in relationships.
Well, you're a fan of STP, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. Their latest single was I like it when we talk about love. You always were my favorite drug, even when we used to take drugs. That was a pretty cool line. I think it relates to that.
That's a great line.
Use that on the soundtrack.
I should. I always say that women were my drug of choice.
Yeah, that's it is how it is for a lot of people. I can't seem to find a good dealer. But
well, have you tried any of the? We should switch the roles to you. Then. Have you tried any dating sites? I actually have always wanted to join up on a dating site because I figure like cyberspace is like the next frontier for me as a writer and as a filmmaker. Like I want to date, and join like some of these dating sites. But have you ever tried that?
I have. But I did not pay the fee to actually have that website put you in connection with that person who's interested.
Well, what about, I don't know if they're going to think this is a plug, because I'm going to go on record, I am in no way affiliated with any dating site. Now that I've said that, have you tried like Plenty of Fish or any of these where they're actually like free?
I guess I haven't heard of those.
Yes. A friend of mine swears by, I think, plentyoffish.com. It's free. There's no fees. You're going to get a little, so from what I hear, you're going to get a little more of the casual user and not the serious one who's trying to find long-term love.
See, that's my thing. I don't want to jump into anything too serious because...
Well, then get your feet wet with plentyoffish.com.
All right. So it will be said. You might be able to find me on plentyoffish.com.
That's right, ladies. Look for Nude Commando. Although I would maybe change your handle, your name on your dating
Change
site.
my handle.
Change maybe don't go. Well, did you ever see The Office with Steve
Carell?
Carell?
Yeah.
And the one where he joins the dating site and he wants the women that run across his profile to really understand how into kids he is and what a good father he could be and all this and that. And so he starts with his the name on his profile, and his profile name is Little Kitty Lover, like 28 or something like
Whoa.
that. Obviously the wrong
type of women, huh?
name to put on there, Little Kitty Lover. But yeah, so maybe Nude Commando.
Yeah.
Maybe stick with Cody.
Yeah, I think that might work. My mom would like that. But on that note, plentyoffish.com, I can't forget it because I have it on audio file right here.
That's right. And Surviving Puberty, they can't forget that because it's on the tape right there.
That's right.
So.
And I'm sure this will end up on YouTube in good timing. Mm-hmm. And but is there anything else you'd like to get out there before we bring this 41-minute interview to a close?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Well, actually, one thing I do want to say is if anybody has any questions, I mean, the big thing is like some people are going to listen to this on the radio or online and go, well, that's interesting. That Chad guy, I don't know if I can trust really what he's saying. Or, wow, that guy sounds interesting. I invite people to contact me. So there is on our website, survivingpuberty.com, there's excerpts, but there's also a contact page where you can message me directly. And then if you like us on Facebook, if you do that, you can actually message us directly from Facebook as well. So I invite anybody that actually has questions about the book, or even just, I don't want to use the word advice in a way like, I'm a therapist, come talk to me. But if you really want to just get an opinion even, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on the website. I'd be happy to respond and, give you my 2 cents for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, it's worth at least 2 cents, right?
Maybe a penny. I don't know if it's worth 2 whole cents, but...
Well, you heard it. Chad Bishoff, he does recommend that you get in contact with him should you have questions and or comments. I'm the Nude Commando. Leave me alone. Chad, why don't you tell them what station they're on, who they're listening to?
This is Chad Bishoff of Surviving Puberty, and you're listening to the Nude Commando on KNCY.
Booyah.